What you gonna do when your lamp burned down?
Oh, when I heard of this sweet land where freedom bravely thrives, and sure protection guards each class, and treasures human lives. Oh, then like flashing lightning quick came hope into my mind. Why should not I, like others, strive that blessed land to find?
To be born black in the early 19th century most likely meant being born into slavery. In 1830, there was 2.3 million African Americans in the United States, with about 2 million suffering under the bondage of slavery. The lucky ones had masters that fed and clothed them. The unlucky ones suffered through humiliation, rape, and physical violence. Even if you did everything you was told, without question, the threat of violence was always there. Public floggings was used to control the slaves and prevent future uprisings, and the pain and heartache was always nearby. You might be treated well, but then your family members would be sold off and you'd never see them again. If your skin was lighter in color, you might be a house servant, or your duties might not be as physically demanding than if your skin was darker. Blacks was viewed as possessions, but there was even a social class system that gave preferential treatment to those of us who looked whiter. Being a slave took a lot of courage, just to get up in the morning, every morning, knowing nothing but hard labor, with freedom a dream far beyond your reach. But for a very small group of slaves, courage turned into action. Freedom became a quest, and for an even smaller group of slaves, the road to freedom was found through a clandestine network of helpers on something that came to be known as the Underground Railroad. Escape came at the most opportune time. Maybe just one slave, maybe several. By stocking provisions and even trying to raise some funds, the soon-to-be fugitives was able to plan for the perfect moment when escape seemed possible. Their motivation, of course, was freedom. But sometimes, seeing a loved one whipped or sold was the final factor in their decision to flee. Runaways was usually young adult men, because the journey was long and dangerous. In many cases, the only guide was the North Star and the promised freedom of Canada. They stayed off the main roads and stuck to fields and swamps and forests. Bloodhounds and slave catchers followed behind and waited ahead. Advertisements provided descriptions and promised rewards: $250 if returned alive, $150 if returned dead. The journey toward freedom was simply too difficult for most women, children, and men over 40 years of age. Runaways was frequently caught and mauled by dogs and then whipped by slave catchers. But those tribulations may have seemed calm compared to what waited them upon their return. The fugitive slave had to fend for himself. Even if he left with money and provisions, both soon ran out. If he is fortunate enough to find his way into the Underground Railroad network, he may enjoy a roof over his head, a meal, even a hot cup of coffee. But he had to get there first, and even once he reached a non-slave state like Pennsylvania, he still wasn't safe. After all, there was still a bounty on his head and slave catchers in hot pursuit. After the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, it became illegal to assist or harbor escaped slaves. Stiff fines and up to 6 months in jail with anyone caught in the act.
Friend, you look like you are in need. Where are you headed?
I'm just passing through to do my business in Little York.
You are a fugitive slave, aren't you?
No, sir. I am a free man, just going about my business.
I can help if you let me. I know where you can get food and water.
Thank you, friend, but I must go about my business.
How could you tell if someone was a friend or foe? Slave catchers, bounty hunters, even federal marshals might all claim to be your friend. A runaway could trust no one. But yet when you walked for a week or more and perhaps not eaten or had fresh water for several days, the promise of help must have seemed quite tempting. In many cases, the fugitive accepted help only to find himself captured and then sent back to his owner. In other cases, he fled, even attacking those who tried to retain him. But sometimes a friend really was a friend, and the runaway found himself boarding the Underground Railroad toward freedom. I was a slave once, and when I was purchased and taken from my family, I thought my world had ended. But the man who had purchased me was a freed black in York, Pennsylvania, and we was of the same kin. As his indentured servant, I learned the trade of a barber. He gave me money, his family gave me an education and a place to live, and they gave me my freedom. But they were friends to many a runaway slave, and I witnessed this firsthand, time and again.
Who goes there?
A friend of a friend sent me.
The farmer of the apple orchard. He sent me to Little York to seek a barber who lives upon the peach orchard.
Were you followed?
I don't think so. I was in a town called Loganville. They had a paper with my description saying they had a reward for my capture. I went back the way I came, and I turned around and went in a circle.
Then we must hide you quickly.
Father, I fear our cargo was tailed.
Then we must get him to the orchard.
I will make sure it's clear out there.
Who knocks upon my door at this late hour?
We're tracking a fugitive and believe he came this way. Have you invited anybody into your house tonight?
Why do you always make such accusations when you lose your quarrel?
Come. You must leave now. Halfway past the orchard, you will find cover in a pile of straw. Enter it and cover. If the danger passes, we will bring you food and water in the morning. At first light, go to the railroad tracks. Look for the building that says Reliance Line upon it. Knock on the door and ask for Mr. McCandless. He will give you directions to your next destination.
They watched his house, our house, both day and night, and sometimes followed us to the barber shop in Center Hall. But Goodridge was a very smart, careful man and was never caught. His properties provided shelter to the escaped slaves. His rail cars provided transportation to William Whipper in Columbia or William Still in Philadelphia. Just how many slaves he helped is unknown, though his time as a conductor and station master on the Underground Railroad spanned 3 decades. He neither spoke nor wrote of his deeds, but is believed to have helped William Parker in the 1830s and Osborne Perry Anderson over 20 years later. Parker was the key figure of the Christiana riot, while Anderson was the only free black to participate in John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry and escape.
Hark the bloodhound's fearful bay, whilst cruel hunters thread their way. Up, fugitive, and bravely speed, for dangers thick and fast indeed. Away from scenes where grief enthralls, for freedom, heavenly freedom calls.